Good afternoon and welcome to Round 11 NPLW WA action at Dorrien Gardens as Perth Soccer Club host Balcatta FC and a Sunday afternoon Italian derby in the women's competition. Great to have your company on this Sunday twilight with tonight's action coming to you live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages. My name's Tommy Dolman. I'll be calling you through this clash between two top four cup aspirants as they go head to head to complete the latest round of the women's competition for season 2020. As in your picture right now, the skippers Gabby Del Busco and Jamie Duncanson shake hands or do as close to what you can in terms of shaking hands given the COVID times that we're still living in. But there is 3 rounds still to play after this one. The Azzurri have really thrown themselves into the title race following last week's statement win at Mum FC on Friday night. 3 points tonight would give them a 5th win on the Spinners. Danielle Brogan's side aim to rejoin Murdoch University Melville atop the standings and move ever closer to securing a home final. Balcatta, meanwhile, snapped a 3-game winless run last weekend with a 1-0 win over Curtin in unusual circumstances, with the game abandoned at half-time due to a waterlogged pitch. The score did stand given 45 minutes were complete under competition rules, and that may provide a timely boost as the race for top 4 spots heats up, with potential 6 points for Balcatta still to come against NTC and Fremantle over the next fortnight. Been a busy round of action in the women's competition in the NPLW. We will keep you up to tabs with the earlier result and give you a bit of a recap of the earlier games of the round just to let you know what is at stake this afternoon. It is a derby game, of course, and in charge of this one is your referee Jess Bird, one of the leading female officials in the States, and her assistants tonight will be Alicia West and George McLean. So a big game to complete round 11 tonight at Dorrien Gardens. A wonderful setting as clutch time starts to roll around for this inaugural NPLW WA season. Top 4 cup home finals and bragging rights all on stake in this women's edition of the Italian derby. A second in 24 hours after the men played yesterday. It's the women's turn to shine tonight though, as Perth and Balcatta get us underway on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages. Both teams wearing their traditional home kits. The Azzurri in their sky blue shirts and white shorts, and Balcatta wearing their all darker navy blue jersey with the red trim, as well as Tessa DeLeo retreats back to Rebecca Bennett early doors. Perth looking to just try and keep the ball under control early days. We did touch on it briefly before, but the men... in the men's version of this game yesterday, Perth did win by 3-0. And hosts will be looking to, hopefully for their point of view, replicate that scoreline, while I'm sure Balcatta will be looking to get one back for their clubbers. Wayward clearance into touch nearly took out one of the people in the crowd just beneath us. Hence why you may have heard a little murmur for the moment. Perth, of course, was so impressive last week with that really resolute performance away at Murdoch University Melville FC, the current leaders who were on a 9-game unbeaten run before it was snapped last week. And with 4 wins in a row and 3 clean sheets in particular in recent times, you just feel as if Danielle Brogan's Perth side are starting to make their move and find a little bit of momentum leading into the latter part of the season. We know that all too well with this club. They do have a habit of finding form when it does come to crunch time. So it would not be a surprise to see the women replicate the men in that sense, as Jenna Onions looks across the ground for Tessa DeLeo, who's got a player out wide, which is Nadia Harvey. Harvey was superb last Friday night, I thought, against Mum FC. Arguably the best player on the pitch. She provided so much energy down that right-hand side and really made life difficult for Ellie Lamont and Talia Organ, who love to get forward and really join in on those attacks, but Harvey was really good at making those two accountable, and it definitely went a long way to helping the Azzurri in that game. As Balcatta look forward through Kimberly McCartney. Caitlin Douglas goes up for the header. Coming across there was Harvey to help out, and now here's Zoe Spadano. Meekins tried to win the ball. No foul, said the referee. Play did continue anyway, but there is an offside flag over on that far side against Grace Betty. Ex-Queen's Park player is Grace Betty. She's been part of most squads this season. And back in the team this week in place of Melissa Shepherd, who is on the bench this afternoon. Ball forward from McCartney, left Alford with a tough task, and Perth will be able to recycle possession fairly quickly. Early stages here in this NPLW WA game, still goalless between Perth and Balcatta, this women's version of the Italian derby, live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages, as Meekins' left-footed ball was beyond the reach of Henderson. And that may just give us a chance to recap the weekend so far. It was a big win on Friday night for Murdoch University Melville FC when they defeated Subiaco in pretty convincing fashion by 9-0. Katarina Jukic getting a hat-trick there. In fact, I can't read my own handwriting. It was actually 8-0. Elsewhere, it was Curtin University and Fremantle City. A big upset there as Curtin University got the 1-0 win, and that may just be a good result for Perth as they maintain a 6-point lead over Fremantle, who were third going into the weekend. Also a good result for today's visitors, as well as Balcatta know that a win today will propel them back into the top four, which is where they want to be come season's end. And that's also made possible by the Redbacks and NTC in today's earlier game, cancelling each other out in a 1-1 draw. So, as we've touched on so often this season, the NPLW WA competition has been a big hit, and we are really starting to launch into the business end of the campaign. Plenty still to play for. And as we've seen so often this season, any team can beat any team on their day. As riding her luck there a little bit in the Balcatta defence was Alana Veroni. Worked out well though. Now Noscent will try and get the better of two. Godin comes in to support Henderson, then loops it over ahead. Duncanson will try and get there first. Clearance was from McCarthy, and then it's take two from Noscent, who's up against Henderson once again, but this time the home fullback wins the day. She's been playing more of a withdrawn more in recent weeks, Henderson, but loves to get forward, having started on the wing earlier in the season. Now Duncanson's ball for Betty is a pretty good one. Betty will look up. She'll see that she's got nobody supporting in the middle, so she has to bide her time, and that will allow Doopera to get a foot on the ball and put behind for a corner. Our first set piece of the afternoon. Set piece which will be taken by Perth skipper Jamie Duncanson. Scored 4 goals a fortnight ago down at Rosalie Park against Subiaco. That's a teasing ball in. Cook was arriving at the back post, but sailed beyond her teammate, and Gabby Del Busco will be able to just settle things down slightly as Balcatta earn a goal kick. A Balcatta team who did get 3 points last week. Caitlin Douglas with a goal just before half time. And players did come back out to the second half, and referee Stephen Snyder judged that the ground was unsafe to be played on for the second half. The pitch was waterlogged. It was quite visible on the pictures on the Football West YouTube and Facebook pages. And under competition rules, Balcatta got the win, and that might just give them a spring in their step, but Douglas's cross is very deep and Alford won't be able to reel that one in. Actually broke a 3-game winless run for Balcatta. 2 of those losses in particular did threaten to stall their season against Fremantle City, who are in and around them in that middle part of the table, and then a heavy defeat at Grindleford Reserve to Mum FC as well. But it was a very credible performance away at the Redbacks a fortnight ago, and that 3 points will be a very welcome boost from the weekend as well. So important that Balcatta do get some wins around the teams battling for those positions in the top 4. They've got essentially 3 big 6-pointers, including today's game. So no slip-ups are welcome in that sense, as Holtom's ball forward. It was a good-looking one, but Cook was unable to stay onside. Godding looks up for the run of Noscent, who scored that looping goal a couple of weeks ago down at the Northern Redbacks. A goal that I thought may have been a cross upon calling it live, but upon watching the replay, it was a very deliberate look up and spot from Noscent. Her first goal of the season, and perhaps a crucial one if Balcatta can get a good result today and extend that unbeaten run to 3 games. They're in possession now. Panea will look to try and slide through Douglas. DeLeo was reading that one all the way though and putting that into touch. Tessa DeLeo, whose brother Jordan is the skipper of the men's team here at Dorrien Gardens. A player who was at Balcatta last season, of course. Cook. Ball forward there for Betty, who was supporting. She puts in the early cross, but that's too far in front of Duncanson. Holtom. DeLeo. Onions. And now Henderson, who'll look to work onto that right foot. Ball was a little heavy for Meekins, and McCartney will look to just gain a little bit of territory. Really high bounce off the ground took Douglas out of the occasion. It's been a real battle for possession in that midfield third so far. On this occasion, Holtom comes out on top. She looks out wide for support. Harvey was getting forward from full back, but Bessie was found, and now she returns to Holtom. Perth just looking to assert their authority in possession, but as I say that, DeLeo's pass was cut out by Godding, and then Douglas just waited, and that allowed Meekins to step in and steal the ball. She's got time to look up. To her left is Duncanson. Only Bessie in the middle at the back post, so she's going to have to try and make the way into the area herself, and in the end the touch just got away from her, and that allowed McCartney to step in and put behind for a corner. Second of the afternoon for the Azzurri. Now Henderson was looking for the short one, but Alberts was aware of the danger. Duncanson will swing this one in. Free header for Cook! And it just clipped off the top of the crossbar, but that's the first opening of the afternoon for Perth Soccer Club. A free header for Liana Cook, and she'll possibly think she could have done a little bit better than that. On her own, around 6 yards out from goal, Cook. Unmarked as well. A good opportunity for the home side, who, as touched on before, know that they can go back level at the top with Murdoch University, Melville FC, and keep their league title hopes alive. And possibly more importantly as well, they can extend that margin on Fremantle City to 9 points, which would really make that semi-final all but secure. And they would love to host a game against third or fourth as well. As Duncanson just straight offside on this near touchline, and that's why McCartney's putting the free kick upfield. She has to get back in the action, not once but twice, and Balcatta try and play their way out, and now Perth can get on the front foot. Cook turns around the corner for Duncanson. Wholesome is in front of her at the near post. Across is a good one for Cook. Bessie's at the back post. She's worked onto her left-hand side. Meekins made the run towards the penalty spot. Couldn't be found, and now Bessie will try and retreat over on that far side to win possession back. She keeps it alive, and stepping in was Diopra, who got the toe in and put safely into touch. Bessie's flick on. Cook will get busy in the penalty area again. Henderson swung out a leg, kept it alive. Holtam will look up and find Meekins, who'll want to get onto that right foot. Cook will strike. Del Busco was down well though. Really good save from Gabby Del Busco. Saw it all the way, got down low and held it cleanly. As Perth just crank it up a notch. That's tremendous control from Ashley Panea to bring that one under control and bring Caitlin Douglas into play. The reverse ball for Alberts was cut out. She did have Alford on her own down the left-hand side. Perhaps that would have been the easier ball to play. Henderson's ball forward will run all the way through to Del Busco. Both of these teams do overlap a little bit in terms of their history over the years. Balcatta Etna and Perth Azuri, as well as East Fremantle Tricolour, merged together to form Perth Italia back in the day, and then Balcatta went on their own again from 1991. And they do still maintain the logo of Etna on their club badge as a tribute to those days. And in terms of women's history, Balcatta have been one of the most prominent women's clubs. They invested in the girls' game from as early as 1993, winning Division 1 and the Top 4 Cup in their first season as a club. So one of the trailblazers, most certainly, for a female game in this state are Balcatta Football Club, as DeLeo's ball forward is cleared by Diopra. Ball will roll for Nadia Harvey, who's been hustled in midfield by Godding. Harvey did really well to follow up, and then Duncanson's touch just let her down. Just to finish on Balcatta in the women's game, of course, as well. They did have a dominant period in the late 2000s with 3 titles in 4 years. And I'd love to add another one in season 2020 in this inaugural NPLW WA campaign. Perth, of course, would love to add a senior women's trophy to their decorated collection of men's awards as Abby Meekins strays offside over in the sunshine. The shadows of the stadium on your screen are gradually creeping further and further away from us. Twilight football here in the West this evening. And still Perth Soccer Club 0, Balcatta FC 0. Live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages this evening. Tommy Dolman taking you through this game. A big one to finish round 11 as crunch time hits this season as Diopera looks up, tries to pick out Alford. Harvey was intercepting, and now Spadano will look up and try and pick out Harvey, who continued her run forward from full back, but Veroni was always favourite to get there first, and she effected the clearance into touch. Cook tries to get the better of Veroni, does so, comes inside. Bessie is trying to dance her way through the area, successful so far. Waiting was Meekins and Duncanson. Meekins goes back, gets possession. Now Wholesome tries to come inside, and Jess Bird says that Wholesome was clipped on her way through, and this will present Perth with a free kick in a dangerous position. Now, we did see Tessa DeLeo hit a set piece in round 1 against Fremantle City. One of the best goals we've seen this season, but sizing this one up is Abby Meekins, who scored that stunning goal off the bench back in round 2. 2-1 win for the Azura this afternoon. Can she do it again? It's Meekins stepping up. Del Bosco has to tip over. It was a fairly regulation save anyway for the stopper, but she had to make sure anyway. Shot was on target. Del Bosco did have to make certain that it wasn't dipping under the bar as Perth earned corner number 3 for the afternoon. Duncanson swinging this one in. Del Bosco flails it a little bit. Arriving was Cook, and I think the last touch was off Diopera at the back post. It was, and it will be a secondary Perth set piece in a matter of seconds. Teasing ball in from Duncanson. Perhaps Del Bosco just lost that a little bit in the air. The breeze maybe just taking it away, and Diopera was in the right place to clear the danger. Once again, it's close to Del Bosco's goal, and once again, she's dealing with it pretty well. Perth cranking it up into twilight of Dorrien Gardens. Duncanson with yet another set piece. It's close to the keeper again. Cook was arriving and scoring for Perth. The hosts steal the march here in this women's version of the Italian derby. It's the Azuri 1, Balcatta FC 0 here at Dorrien Gardens. So Perth take the lead, and as it stands, they rejoin Mum FC atop the NPLW WA standings, a 5th goal of the season for Liana Cook, as the pressure of set pieces eventually told on Balcatta's defence. Each of those deliveries was on point for Duncanson, let's not forget that, and it really did help in terms of building that pressure on the visitors' defence. Panea giving chase here, but Bennett picks out Jenna Onions, who is an Albany local and played in the regional festival football game about a month ago. Godding. Clip around the corner, cut out by Onions it was. Now Meekins will clip over the top, but unfortunately for her, the supporting cast wasn't that high up the pitch. Now they press as Bessie looks up and tries to pick out Cook. McCartney was coming across and putting into touch. Experienced defender is Kimberly McCartney, once of the Northern Redbacks. Played in all 10 games in season 2020, the defender. Betty. Dancing feet down that right-hand side. Been a good battle between her and Diopra, and fullback wins on that occasion and halts Perth progress for the moment. Throw comes in, Cook flicks on, Nosent up and away. Still Perth stay on the front foot. They've really taken control of things in recent times, but cross was a disappointing one from Betty on that occasion. Balcatta will get some much needed respite. Beautiful afternoon for football here in the West. In fact, it's been a fantastic weekend of weather in general. No excuses at all for the players here. It's just great to be out of those winter months and into spring and heading down to the nitty-gritty of season 2020. An exciting one which I'm sure has plenty of twists and turns left in it yet. McCartney stepping in, looking up and finding Douglas, who couldn't bring that one under control, and Onions can pick out Spadano in midfield. Douglas was putting the pressure on. The Perth midfielder got the better of her though, and she's slipped through Duncanson, who's onside here and poking towards goal. Del Bosco with a good save again. She got down well, stuck a glove out and palmed it around the post. Once again, Perth will look to attack from the set piece. Duncanson. It's on point once again. Meekins was arriving. Back post was Betty. In fact, it was Cook who snuck over and affected the shot towards goal. Last touch was that for Balcatta player, and behind for a corner it goes. I'm not sure if it's something that the Azuri have been working on during the week, but Duncanson's dead ball delivery has been outstanding this afternoon. And here's the latest one. It's close to Del Bosco's goal again, and this time it's landing on top of the net. Slightly off the mark from the skipper. Who switched sides with Bessie for the moment. Henderson under pressure from Panea, who chimes in and wins the ball. Now Douglas looks to slip in Alford, who's offside. Wouldn't have counted anyway, even if it found the back of the net. Alford had just stepped a yard off. Nice pick out from Douglas, though, to find her winger. Referee George McLean was very quick to raise the flag there and give Perth a reprieve. First real glimpse of counter-attacking that we've seen from the visitors so far this afternoon, who are still missing Christy Astorp. 6 goals for them this season. And part of that front two with Douglas, which really looked the goods earlier in the campaign. Did pick up a knock against Fremantle City a few weeks back, though, and hasn't been seen since. I'm sure they're just giving her every opportunity to try and come back to full fitness for the final weeks of the season. She has actually been coming back through the 23s as well, so encouraging signs for Balcatta in that respect, as cross from Duncanson's deep one. And that'll drift harmlessly over the goal. Three clean sheets for Gabby Del Bosco so far this season. She's been busy this afternoon as well. The Perth Glory W League and Young Matilda's stopper. Goldfields WA State team, a keeper in 2019 as well, as Duncanson looks up. Holtham with a slight miss kick, but worked out nicely for Henderson in any case, and then the ball forward for Cook was a little out of the striker's reach. And it's Cook's goal which has made all the difference so far for Perth in this Italian derby with Balcatta. They lead by 1-0 here at Dorrien Gardens. Live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages this afternoon. Final game of round 11. Wins for Murdoch and Curtin so far this round, and a draw between the Redbacks and NTC in today's earlier game. Cooks ball forward. The header into touch was off Diopra. Onions retreats all the way back to Rebecca Bennett, who's kept 4 clean sheets this season and 3 in her last 3 games. The ex-Queen's Park goalkeeper. Betty. Inventive flick over her head. No teammate was in the vicinity, and McCartney slashes away. DeLeo's headed down, wasn't her best, and nearly allowed Alford to try and pick out the run of Panea. A little bit messy from both teams in the centre of the park at the moment, and now Duncanson will try to restore a little bit of control. She looks forward and finds Meekins. Clever back heel from Meekins. Now Holtam, Cook, turning, wanting to get onto that right foot. Little slip ball was out of reach for Duncanson, who continued her run, and Diopra smartly plays it off the winger and out for a goal kick. Equal third top goal scorer in the NPL WWA is Jamie Duncanson, alongside Judy Connolly and Christy Astorp and Sarah Carroll as well. Now Angelique Alberts will try and take on 2 Perth defenders. One of them in Onions comes across and puts into touch. Forward comes Nossent to take the throw. Balcatta will be hoping to have a little bit of territory. They've been under the cosh for the majority of this opening 45 minutes. Godding hooks around the corner. That's a nice pass for Panea. Douglas will try and make it work. It may yet break for Alford in the area. Scrambling out was Bennett, and diving on it at the second attempt as well. Good goalkeeping from Rebecca Bennett, who was off her line really smartly there. Anticipated the danger and effected the save. A couple of times that Georgia Alford has been lurking on that last defender, and she's nearly capitalised on a couple of occasions as well. As Perth try to counter forward, Harvey passes, hit Veroni inadvertently, worked out. Nevertheless, it eventually comes to Godding, who goes back to Veroni once more. Ball forward was looking for Alford, but hit her a little high on the body, and in the end she wasn't able to bring that one under control. Holtam. Left-footed pass brings Henderson into the game, and she elects to take the strike early. Possibly had time to help it on to Betty. Betty and Duncanson have switched sides once more. And we're back how we started the game in terms of Perth's team shape. The Azzurri chasing a 5th straight win and leading by a goal to nil thanks to Liana Cook so far. Now Duncanson is trying to get the better of Nosent, who showed really good body work there to block out her opponent, and that allowed Del Bosco to come off her line and claim. And then Douglas's pass was a little behind Alberts. She tried to get forward and support the attack. One thing that stood out for me so far in 2020 is that right-hand side of Balcatta with April Nosent and Angelique Alberts. We've not quite seen the best of them going forward just yet, though, as Penaya's ball forward here is a cracker for Douglas, who's in on goal, and Bennett had to stand tall and palm over. Just about the best opening for the visitors so far. And it's come through their leading scorer, Caitlin Douglas. Lovely reverse ball from Ashley Penaya to find the striker, and Balcatta have their first corner of the afternoon and possibly have an opportunity to build a little bit of pressure on the home side. It's Douglas who goes over to take. Most of these players are at the back post. Bennett will stand tall and catch well. Plenty of confidence shown aerially there, and the throw was a little scrappy. In the end, it didn't matter as Cass Harvey's pass was a little overhit. And that'll run back through for Bennett, who just used a little bit of that experience just to take a little bit of the sting out of the game. And possibly acknowledging that Balcatta have found a little bit of momentum in the past couple of minutes or so. Alberts tries to cushion for Godding. Holtam looks up, picks out Duncanson. That's a wonderful ball from Katie Holtam, and now Duncanson will try and skip past McCartney, but that's really good defending from the Balcatta defender, and in the end the last touch was off the experienced former Redback. Duncanson's been integral this afternoon with that dead ball delivery. She gets another chance right now. Will no doubt try and swing that close to Del Bosco's goal. It's into the side netting at the near post. It was Alana Veroni who had her bearings right and just let that drift behind for a goal kick. Henderson, back for DeLeo. Pass looked a little short for Harvey initially, but she made it look good. Stepping in, though, was Godding, who's now battling the two number sixes, going head-to-head for possession in midfield. It comes out the way of Perth, and then Godding somehow keeps that alive on the far side. Pass inside for Douglas was a little beyond her in these closing minutes of the first half. Can Balcatta create one last chance? Not with that pass from Nosent. Looks as though Caitlin Douglas and Ashley Penaya have just switched positions. Douglas maybe coming a little bit deeper to try and get more involved in the play, with Penaya using her pace on the last defender. Cook will try to win a corner off McCartney. Does so successfully, much to the defender's surprise. And perhaps it'll be Perth who get a late chance to secure their lead. Taken short for Henderson. Cross in was off Alberts. Half shouts for handball, but not much that the fullback could have done there, I don't think. This one's going into the mixer. Duncanson towards the penalty spot. McCartney jumped, didn't get anywhere near it in the end. Cook will get there first. She's one-on-one with Alford on that far side. And in the end, she couldn't wrap her foot around the ball, and the cross just floated into that side netting at the near post. Forward by Veroni. Last touch off a Perth player. And on this occasion, the last touch was off a Balcatta body. As the tempo just slows down a little bit in the shadows of half-time. Duncanson. First time cross. Cleared by Alberts. Alford tries to spin around Harvey. The pass up the line was a pretty good one to give Panea a chance of chasing, but DeLeo was always in position A to deal with that one. Onions. Henderson in space on this left-hand side. She'll try and possibly skin Nossent. She doesn't. She comes inside for Duncanson, who clips forward. And Betty was just trying to get back on side, I think. Perhaps realising that Balcatta's defensive line had pressed up there and that she would have been offside had she made a play for the ball. Duncanson. Harvey. A little short for DeLeo, who made it work in the end. Godding took her time on the ball very casually, and she was closed down by two Perth midfielders. One of them was Holtom, who stood on the ball and turned over possession. Alberts tries to play forward, and that'll be the last action of the opening 45 minutes. A lively one here at Dorrien Gardens. It's Perth Soccer Club 1, Balcatta FC 0. Only goal of the game scored by Liana Cook, her fifth of the season. A header from a Jamie Duncanson corner, one of two or three in a row that really put the pressure on Balcatta FC's defence. They probably had the best chance to make it 2-0 as well in the early stages as Duncanson was through on goal, but Gabby Del Bosco's glove denied her. Whilst at the other end, Caitlin Douglas had Balcatta's best opening when she found herself through on goal from a reverse pass and brought the best out of Rebecca Bennett. Still plenty to play for in the second half here. Home finals, top four cup places. It's live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages. The second half will be coming to you in 10 to 15 minutes time. Perth 1, Balcatta 0. Welcome back to the second half of this round 11 NPLW WA clash. Italian derby between Perth Soccer Club and Balcatta FC Women's. And it's the Azzurri who currently lead by a 0-0. Goal was a header scored by Liana Cook midway through the first half. And as it stands, the hosts are moving back to the summit of the league, but I'm sure Balcatta will have plenty to say in the second half as they chase a top 4 cup spot of their own with only 3 weeks of the season remaining. No changes for either side at the interval. So we start the second half as we started the first, and it's Perth in possession, continuing that nice symmetry, only temporarily though, as Balcatta win the ball. Meekins, in fact it's Spadano who steps in forward from Nossent. Douglas is racing after that one. Onions steps in, and now Spadano again. Meekins looks up. She's got Cook and Duncanson ahead of her. Ball forward is a dangerous one from the end. Panea with a good shot there. Well gloved away by Bennett. Caught me on the hop. That one at the start of the second half. It was a super ball forward from Harvey to release the striker, and now Douglas tries one from range and into the welcome arms of Bennett. So dangerous signs at the start of the second half of Perth, who will be desperate to hold on to the goals advantage that they have. Now Duncanson gets the ball first, slides in, wins the corner off McCartney. Perth looking to respond, but a very good opening at the start of the second half for the visitors. Ashley Panea, we did touch on that at the start of, at the end of the first half. She was playing on that last defender a little bit more, allowing Caitlin Douglas to drop deeper, and that pace got in behind and forced Bennett into another decent block. Perth on the front foot now. Duncanson's ball. Cook will bring it down. Slicing that one away was Diopera. Spadano's after it. Retreating back to DeLeo. Alongside her now is Onions, who looks up, left-footed, tries to pick out Grace Bessie. That was an important intervention from Diopera, though, who heads into touch. Nadia Harvey's throw. Godding heads down. Bessie's little lift into the middle. Duncanson wasn't really banking on that one. And in the end, Dalbusco was able to claim quite easily. You'll have noticed that the floodlights are on at Dorrien Gardens for this twilight match. Sun well and truly down now. Big game to finish round 11 of the NPLW WA. As Cook turns around the corner, finds Meekins, and she looks to release Duncanson, who's stayed on side and will get there first. One-on-one with Nossen. Duncanson will clip towards the back post. It was behind Bessie, though, and that one should run away and harmlessly out for a throw-in. Decent crowd here at the home of Perth Soccer Club on this Sunday night. I have noticed a few players from other teams turning up to no doubt cast an eye on some of their opponents and no doubt support their friends as well, as Godding tries to make progress up the field. DeLeo stepped in, throw was quickly taken. Panea is causing Onions some problems, and still she's working her way through. Now Douglas will try and launch one from long range, and it had Bennett just looking over her shoulder slightly. Possibly Caitlin Douglas had the chance to Drive towards goal with that one. Did spot Bennett off her line though, and wasn't too far away from picking out that top corner. Bennett's kick did fall short to Albert's from the restart, but mattered little as Perth earned possession back. We saw Balcatta a couple of weeks ago at the Redbacks playing really dangerous looking counter-attacking style of football. It was a style that earned them a point on that Sunday afternoon, and I've just seen glimpses tonight as well that whilst the score remains at 1-0, the likes of Caitlin Douglas and Ashley Panea will yet cause a problem to Perth's defence as the wind just drifts in across the ground, blowing perhaps slightly to the left of your screen. And in the end, the offside flag was up on that far side, I think. Forward from DeLeo, Cook competing, Holton at the fall of the ball. Duncanson is out wide. And Jess Bird has spotted something that I didn't. And that'll be a free kick for the visitors. Visitors who are looking to extend their unbeaten run to 3 games, of course, ahead of 2 big 6-pointers in the next fortnight. Onion stepped in really well there to deny Douglas as she was marauding forward. Now Spadano. Little lunge from Douglas somewhat. As Perth look to try and control things again with that defensive access of DeLeo and Onions linking up. One which has kept 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games, of course. Balcatta have scored in every away game this season, though, other than the game against Fremantle City at Mum FC, which was at a neutral venue, so they are far from out of this one. And in fact, their away record throughout 2020 has been a good one, with 3 wins and 2 draws from their 5 games. Henderson's cross had Dalbusco just misjudging for a moment. Luckily, Diopra was there at the back post to get her out of jail. Balcatta still try to play out of the back. Holsom steps in and secures the ball for Perth. English midfielder Katie Holsom. And now Balcatta step in and look to counter as Douglas gets down this left-hand side. She's got Panea at the back post. If she can look up and spot her. In the end, she came inside and Holton got back well to step in and effect the challenge. Played in England across multiple junior levels. Did Katie Holton. Also spent time with Chelsea Ladies and Doncaster Bells as well. Scored the opening goal in this reverse fixture back in round 2. A game that, as we touched on before, Perth did go on to win 2-1 with that stunning goal from Abby Meekins, which was her first since returning from that awful knee injury which she suffered last season. A lot of hard work in last year for the former Perth Glory prospect Abby Meekins. She's done a remarkable job to get back on the pitch and play a leading role for the hosts. Scored that decisive penalty in last week's win over Mum FC as well, as Holton, I think it was, got boot to ball and tried to gain some territory. Balcatta just trying to work up a little bit of a head of steam as they try to get back into this one. Cook nods down. Holton dancing her way through two Balcatta players, and then the pass was not anticipated by Betty, and that will allow Diopera to turn and retreat all the way back to Del Bosco. Stepping in with Spadano. Veroni was across and putting into touch. One of the ever-presents of this side is Alana Veroni. Yet to get off the mark in the league this season, obviously, given that she is a central defender, but did score in the night series against Curtin. Diopera's ball, stepping across DeLeo. Diopera, take two. Godding. Now Georgia Alford will look up and look inside and not see anything obvious on, so goes back to Diopera, who finds Holton with the pass. Diopera's had a busy 60 seconds down that left-hand side. Her pass eventually works its way for Panea, who tries to release Alberts nice and early, but Henderson was covering and alert to the danger, although she's not completely out of it just yet, and in the end has to play off Alberts to win a throw-in. Ex-Northern Redbacks winger Emily Henderson, very prominent on that left-hand side. As we mentioned a little bit earlier on, has been playing full-back in recent weeks, having started the season further upfield. Represented the Young Matildas at the AFC Under-16s Championships. A W League winner in 2014-15 at the Glory as well, so she's got a good resume on her as well, Henderson, and will no doubt provide some valuable experience going into the back end of this campaign. Noscent. Collision between two players there as both went hard and strong into a challenge for the loose ball, and Noscent's back on her feet, but we've still got a Perth player down. It's Zoe Spadano, who looks to have come off second best here. No calls for the physio just yet. Casey Holton is making sure a teammate is okay, and great to see that Zoe Spadano is back to her feet. Looks as though she'll be okay to continue. And Jess Bird should get us restarted with a drop ball, which goes back to goalkeeper Rebecca Bennett. So we'll just keep an eye on Spadano to see how she's moving. She looks fine, which is great news because it did look like a strong challenge between her and Noscent. Both players with eyes for the ball only, as Douglas goes back to the aforementioned Noscent, who twists and turns away from Duncanson and then pokes one forward, looking for the run of Alberts. Crossing in the middle is a dangerous looking one. DeLeo has to get ahead on it. Perth still haven't quite cleared their lines just yet, battling for possession. Still was Noscent. It nearly came back to Douglas. It did. And now Harvey will strike first time. Didn't quite get the power required, though, to test Bennett from that distance. And she did have Georgia Alford open on that left-hand side. Pass here is a little bit short. Could have gone anywhere, and in the end, Panea, the ricochet went just wide of the mark. And in fact, I think the last touch may have come off Bennett, because Jess Bird has signalled for a corner. And out of nowhere, really, Perth playing themselves into trouble. In fact, the last touch was off Panea, so a little bit of confusion from both sets of players there. Caitlin Douglas was certainly making a move towards the ball, anticipating a corner. A goal kick signal, though, and perhaps a little bit unnecessary from Perth there as they put themselves in trouble. Balcatta are just squeezing up on them a little bit in this second half as we pass the hour mark here at Dorrien Gardens. Perth Soccer Club 1, Balcatta FC 0. Round 11 NPLW WA action. Final game of this round as the exciting inaugural women's season approaches the pointy end. Top 4 cup places, home finals, league titles even, if Perth can hang on to this result, still up for grabs. Big half an hour here to come as Holton turns, looks up the line. Betty went over her head. She'll now give chase. Diopera got a foot in, but the Perth player came out on top eventually, and then I think that'll be a corner if Diopera can't retrieve it. She managed to keep it alive and put out for a throw. One of several Balcatta players who played in that State Cup defeat to the Redbacks last season is Monique Diopera. In fact, in general, a lot of these Balcatta girls have played together for quite some time under the coaching of Lisa Tanner as Cook makes headway into the area. McCartney stepped in, conceded the corner. Also, the Rebel Football Women's Coach of the Year in 2019 was Lisa Tanner. Guided Balcatta to a 4th place finish last season. 9 wins in their 20 games. Corner comes in from Henderson. It's towards the edge of the area. Acrobatically, Duncanson tried to hook that towards goal, and, well, it could have ended up anywhere, but Balcatta hack it away. And a push from Betty there on Diopera was a clear one. And Jess Bird didn't miss it either. You'll just see the... Well, you may have just seen the Balcatta girls returning to the bench, having warmed up. Perth girls at the opposite end of the pitch, the substitutes. Watching on, neither team yet to turn to their bench this evening so far. As Betty finds Duncanson, clip over the top, looking for the run of Cook. Diopera's got to be careful here, and in the end she did really well to win the goal kick back off tonight's goal scorer. Made such an impact since coming to the club has Liana Cook. She came into the side back in early August, and she scored 5 goals in her, what is her 7th game tonight at the moment. Late equaliser against Curtin, a decisive brace in Albany for that 2-1 win in the regional game over NTC, and also scoring that winning goal from the penalty spot against Fremantle City as well. So she's had a major impact and has almost added a different dynamic to this Azuri team. Well, they've certainly been playing well in those last 4 games, with 4 straight wins going into tonight's game. And they're looking good for a 5th, as Duncanson's pass was cut out by Harvey. It stayed in play, actually, despite looking as if it would go out for a corner initially, and Nocent clears upfield. Panea can't keep the ball at her feet, and Perth will come back. Veroni takes a touch calmly, clears only as far as Duncanson, who strikes early, sliced off the outside of the foot, and that one should run away. And in fact, it'll only be a throw-in for Balcatta, who perhaps would have preferred a goal kick in that situation. Meekins. Betty. Diopra putting it into touch again. Nadia Harvey, another former Balcatta player, taking the throw in. Cook's cross will be straight into the gloves of Del Bosco. As we approach the midway point of this second half, still Liana Cook's goal is what separates the teams. And having weathered a minor storm from Balcatta early in this half, Perth seemingly have regained control in recent times, but Godding does well to win a throw-in off Harvey. Panea goes to ground, and DeLeo looks a little confused, but decision stands. Back quickly to organise that defensive line on the edge of the area. McCartney has come forward from defence to take the set piece. It's a dangerous looking one to the penalty spot. Arriving late at the back post was Alberts, and Bennett bravely dived and saved again. Teasing ball in from Kim McCartney there. McCartney forward. Harvey. Swarmed upon by three Perth players. Cook is unable to turn around the corner for Betty, and it will run all the way back to Del Bosco eventually. Nocent's touch just gets away from her. Perth Soccer Club with the best defence in the league so far this season. Just the 9 goals conceded so far, one better than the Redbacks and Mum FC, who had only conceded 10 prior to this round. And they'll know that a 4th clean sheet in a row will give them another 3 points, which will move them back to level top with Mum FC. Going into the final 3 rounds of the season, title race most definitely still alive. Although Murdoch University Melville's goal difference is currently substantially better than Perth, so they will have to finish top via points, you'd think, barring some extraordinary scores in the final 3 rounds of the season. Onions forward. Cook's layoff was a little short for Meekins. Stepping in was Harvey, who almost bounced off Betty in the end and continued to charge forward. That's a super pass inside for Diopra, who finds Douglas, looks up, picks out Alford. Ball went under her foot, but Georgia Alford should still get there first, and in the end did well to win the throw off. Tessa DeLeo, who came across and enforced herself into the contest. Very much a breezy evening now at Dorrien Gardens. Dangerous ball in from Diopra. Penea's in the mix still. Where will this fall? Hacking that one away somewhat was Onions, I think, and completing the clearance was Holtom. Diopra's cross caused all sorts of problems for the home side there, and scrappy but effective from Onions as it turned out. Now Perth will look to counter. Duncanson brings Holtom into the game. Charging out wide is Henderson, but the pass doesn't quite get to her. Now Cass Harvey, ball bounced off her knee there, I think. Cook brings Meekins into it. A pick out for Henderson, who's onside and striking early, and straight at Del Bosco. And you'll just see how that ball carried in the breeze there. And DeLeo's pass bounced awkwardly. Penea's here, and in the end Bennett was acrobatic in the clearance. That was a vital intervention from Perth stopper, who's got her team out of jail a couple of times tonight. It's DeLeo's pass back, which took a very cruel bounce. But Bennett was excellent there in maintaining her team's clean sheet. You could just hear the Balcatta fans to my right who are starting to believe here and perhaps get a sniff that an equaliser isn't just out of the question yet. DeLeo, Cook. Harvey should keep this in. Betty made the run up the line. She stayed onside, did she? Yes. Cross was a good one early. Henderson should get there first at the back post. She's only really got Cook in support in the middle. McCartney will clear the cross only as far as Holtom, who sort of squeezes the pass to thing, and then Meekins strikes, and Del Bosco was down low again, but it was Cook laying off for Meekins, and the strike was a strong one. Both goalkeepers really excelling in this game so far. Penea's clip over the top. Douglas was just offside. A little slow in getting back onside there. Was the Perth Glory forward. Seven goals for the campaign. Caitlin Douglas, that crucial goal in the abandoned game against Curtin last week. She actually scored the second fastest goal in W League history at the time in 2016-17 against Western Sydney Wanderers for Perth Glory. Very good player, and one that we're delighted to watch in the NPLW WA as Harvey steals the ball off Alford. Cross was a little deep for her teammates. And Noscent will launch that one up the line. Pace has become quite frenetic in this game. All of a sudden. Shouldn't be surprised though, given it is a derby and there is still so much at stake going into the final 15 minutes or so. Harvey's pass was disappointing initially for Douglas, but she made it work, and she pinches the balls off DeLeo's toes. Cross in the middle here is for Harvey, who nearly got the shot off. It was a good block from Holtom though, and the tracking back from Katie Holtom in midfield was excellent. And that boot was crucial as Harvey tried to get her shot on goal. Really good, exciting game this one is to watch. And now Duncanson's header through for Cook looked dangerous again, but this time Veroni's coming across. And now Noscent will try and win the throw off Duncanson, who was really strong and won the ball back. Sliding in desperately again, Duncanson. This game's gone up a notch in the last 5 minutes or so. Holton wide for Duncanson, who's onside. Rolling around the back of Noscent, standing her up now, crossing, charge down. And coming back and affecting the clearance was Godding, and everyone can breathe for a moment. Really exciting passage of play at both ends there. 15 minutes to play here at Dorrien Gardens. Perth 1, Balcatta 0. Liana Cook's goal the difference, live on the Football West YouTube channel and Facebook pages this evening. Tommy Dolman calling you through the climax of this round 11 of the NPLW WA. It's been a dramatic round. Perhaps we may have a final twist in this remaining quarter of an hour as Noscent looks up. Alford tried to cushion it down for Panea. Clearance was cut out by Harvey, who's got time to turn and look up, and unfortunately didn't quite get the cross right as it skewed off the outside of the boot and ran through for Bennett. A lot of energy put into this one by both teams. Still playing with the 11s that we started the game with. Perth also didn't make a sub last weekend against leaders Mum FC either. I did manage to speak to Perth's coach Danielle Brogan after the game, and she said she felt it was important that the team shape stayed as it is, and that structural continuity remained, and in the end it proved a good decision as they broke Mum FC's 9-game unbeaten run. Handball there from Meg Godding. Monique Godding, apologies. Forward from DeLeo. Cook challenging in the air. Cass Harvey turning, trying to pick out Alberts, but Henderson cuts out. Holton turning. Nothing obvious was on, so she retreats back to DeLeo. In return, retreats back to Bennett. Perth just looking to maintain possession for a period of time, but Balcatta have pressed up pretty well here. Really good, calm, composed play on the ball from Perth, but now Balcatta can steal in. Alford. Meekins was pressing as well, though, and did well to win the ball back. Now Douglas. Godding. Alford has continued her run. If she can keep it in, she's got Panea inside of her. Twisting, turning. Meekins, in fact, it was Spadano, was sitting in front of that back four and monitoring activities, and she gives off to Meekins, who's got Duncanson wide. Crossfield pass was partially charged down. And now Noscent will look up. That's a lovely ball to find Douglas, but Spadano was excellent in standing tall and winning possession. And now the release is an inviting one for Betty. Clearance was only partially made for Cook. Duncanson, Betty, Cook! Always rising, but she liked how it opened up for her, and having scored earlier in the game, she was full of confidence. Wasn't all that far over Del Busco's goal in the end. Douglas. Pass inadvertently found Noscent, who lifted it into the area, and DeLeo had a little bit more time than she thought, and in the end rushed her clearance behind for a corner. Grandstand finish coming up here, you feel, as we get set to enter the final 10 minutes. Douglas is over on that far side taking the set piece. It's towards the head of McCartney. It'll run all the way through for Harvey. And now Diopra will try her luck. It just skewed off the outside of the boot though, and unfortunately that'll run away and out for a goal kick, which will be much welcome for Perth as they inch ever closer to a 5th consecutive win and a 4th consecutive clean sheet. And those 3 points which will draw them level atop the standings with Murdoch University Melville FC. Cook, Henderson, Meekins, Duncanson couldn't quite keep that in play. It'll be April Noscent who takes the throw. Played futsal for Fremantle with teammates Kim McCartney and Christy Astorp, who we mentioned earlier is still out. I'll be desperate to get her back for the final few games of the campaign, as Harvey's ball was cut out by DeLeo. The lob from Harvey was speculative, and Bennett was well aware of that danger. Both goalkeepers have really been excellent tonight, despite a few edgy moments in defence. Looks as though Perth will be the first team to turn to the bench this evening. And it'll be Jess Byrne who's receiving some final instructions from Danielle Brogan. Change won't happen just yet as Diopra throws into play. Perth emerge with possession. It's Holtam and Douglas battling for the ball. Last touch was off Holtam, much to the amusement of Balcatta and to the disappointment of the home fans as Spadano tries to gain a bit of territory. Veroni is back defending. Del Bosco will look up, assess her options, and will try and pick out Noscent with the pass. It was cut out by Duncanson though, and that'll give Perth a chance to counter and perhaps score the goal which would decide this game once and for all. Not over yet though, as Noscent puts forward. Douglas is racing after it, one-on-one with DeLeo. The defender wins out on that occasion and puts into touch. Balcatta really looking to push the pace, but the last touch was off Alberts, I think it was, over on that far side. And now Perth can make that substitution. Just waiting to see who it is, and it will be the skipper Duncanson, I think, who is departing. So Duncanson gives a high five to Jess Byrne, who comes in to the game in her place. I mean, a slight reshuffle. Liana Cook will go to the left-hand side and Byrne will slot in up front. Perhaps just some fresh legs to put pressure on Balcatta's defence. But now Balcatta are putting pressure on Perth's defence as Harvey was across and alert with Alford bearing down. The cross from Douglas could have gone anywhere. I think it landed on top of the net. It did, so dangerous moment once again for Perth's defences. Bennett looked a little unsure for a minute. Power of work put in by Jamie Duncanson tonight, the Perth captain. She's worked really hard down that left-hand side, and those set pieces, particularly in the first half, were really crucial in putting her team on the front foot. One of them has led to the game's decisive goal, scored by Liana Cook. Coming up to 5 minutes remaining here in this final game of round 11, the NPLW WA, Perth 1, Balcatta 0. And turning around the corner was Spadano for Byrne, who handballed. Dalbasco will run forward to take the free kick. She'll push her teammates forward. Getting close to desperation time for the visitors here, you'd think. Diopera, good strength there to shield the ball and win her team a throw, and she'll get another opportunity right now as DeLeo clears into touch in a similar spot. Alford, 2 players to beat, manages to poke forward for Godding, who's standing up to Perth players, and I think the last touch was off Godding there. It was a little unlucky with the ricochet. Ever present as well, Monique Godding, 1 goal this season in the big win over Subiaco. Real midfield live wire who covers every blade of grass, it feels like. Former NTC under 18s challenge squad member as well. Back in 2013 and 14. It's Perth inch forward and earn a throw in, which Harvey will throw as far forward as possible. Ball ends up at the feet of Bessie. Now Byrne. Holton will strike first time, and was always rising past Dalbasco's upright. Byrne. Tickle around the corner. McCartney finds Nossent. Looks up. Panea. Douglas tries to race onto it. She does, and will look up. She had Alford to her left and then was just crowded out by 3 Perth players who were desperate to win possession back, and that'll please Danielle Brogan, who will urge for one last effort from her players as they hold on to this 1-0 lead. Betty. Stepping in was Doppler again, who's had a really good game at fullback tonight. Godding with good work to win the ball back, but the pass was wide of Douglas, and Spadano can't do anything other than put the ball into touch. Ex-Ellenbrook United player Zoe Spadano, who excelled at the National Futsal Club Championships last year. She's actually the MVP and Golden Boot winner as well, as her team went undefeated. Did go down under a strong challenge earlier, but has been right back in the action since, and now Godding is similarly down. The physio will come on and have a look to see if Monique Godding is okay to continue. So if results stay as they are, Perth will go joint top with Mum FC going into the final 3 rounds of the season and all but secure a home final here at Dorrien Gardens for the top 4 cup. Balcatta, meanwhile, will remain outside of the top 4, but they're still in striking range of Fremantle City and the NTC, and indeed the Northern Redbacks as well. And they've got 2 big 6-pointers against the NTC and Fremantle in the next fortnight before finishing at home against Subiaco. As the visitors turn to the bench very late on, Sophie Bolingbroke will enter the fray for stoppage time. Ashley Panea will take a seat. Like for like swap. We have ticked into second half stoppage time now. Balcatta need to get a move on if they are to steal a late equaliser here. Harvey finds Bolingbroke, who's in the game and losing control, and not a lot of stoppage time was played there, and Jess Bird blows the full-time whistle. It's a big win for the Azzurri, who go back level at the summit of the NPLW WA with Murdoch University Melville FC. A 1-0 victory provided to them by a goal from Liana Cook, scored midway through the first half after a flurry of Jamie Duncanson set pieces, which were on point throughout, in all honesty. Duncanson was busy down that left-hand side throughout. She forced Dalbusco into a really good save. Balcatta had their chances as well, mind you, and could have scored when Caitlin Douglas found herself through on goal. Georgia Alford forced a good save from Gabby Dalbusco as well, even though it would have been disallowed for offside had it had gone in. And in the second half, Ashley Panea, early in the half, broke through Perth's defence from Cassandra Harvey's pass and forced Rebecca Bennett into a smart block. But despite the chances at both ends, it was just the 1 goal that was required for the Azzurri to move 9 points clear of 3rd place going into the final 3 games of the campaign. Liana Cook's goal, made all the difference. A 5th win in a row for the Azzurri, a 4th clean sheet on the spin. And boy, oh boy, do we have a title race going into the final 3 games of the season. Full time here at Dorrien Gardens. Perth 1, Balcatta 0. And we bid you good night.